Ever wonder what cool parts are in an HP printer? There's screws, there's DC motors, there's stepper motors, there's all kinds of cool stuff. Pull this thing apart and check it out. There's also a lot of nice electronics. Here's a nice LCD screen. Flip it upside down, there's not a lot of screws, there's a lot of plastic things like a puzzle, just trying to get each piece to come out. Who needs to buy a puzzle when you've always got puzzles like this? You don't know how they come apart until you just give it a pull. ABS plastic, that's pretty nice. Glues extremely well for prototypes. We just found our first screw right here. Harbor Freight screwdriver kit comes in handy all the time. Every year they make these, they put in less screws. This is a self-tapping screw designed to go into the plastic without putting threads into the plastic. We'll work off this top. It's nice when you know you're not going to have to put this thing back together. Just taking something apart just for the fun of it. This looks like something for a roll of paper or a paper transport. A metal rod like this these days would be very expensive. Get into the meat of this thing. A lot more tabs and a lot less screws that really snap together very easily on the production line. One panel at a time. Here's a nice flat piece of ABS. There'll be some really cool stuff on this circuit board. There's a Wi-Fi module right here, this blue 2032 lithium battery. See if that's in good shape. That's like a $5 battery. On a modern board like this, there's not many precious metals. Stripping this thing down. The scanner unit might have some nice LEDs in it. Pulling the screws out is a lot easier than trying to find the tabs and how they work. It's kind of cool to see how they do this. Instead of a wiring harness, they just put all these little tabs in there. There's an infrared LED that's on the bottom. Remove this LCD screen. There we go. Now we can see what kind of LEDs, what kind of motors are in here. Nice little stepper motor. This little bar over here. That is a very cool LED. Each year they make these things with less and less parts and just snap them together. Clamps back so we can get the glass out. Tape this piece of glass on there, so we're just going to have to be real careful with it. Set this one off to the side. Instead of a stepper motor, at the end of this would be a DC motor. Very, very precise. Why is it that I want to tear things apart all the time? Because I want to learn. I want to see how it works. Within 25 years of new product development, this stuff just never gets old. Right here's a DC motor because you can see the two wires, and right here's another encoder. Just beautifully simple. Right here's the sensor. The encoder goes through it so it can be extremely precise when the motor moves. Pull this apart, you can see there's gold plating on it. There's not much gold on there. They got it down to a science. Compared to like the 1970s, you can see this chip right here. All the wire in here is like pure gold, solid gold. When you're dealing with old electronics, then you can start to find some precious metals. It's neat. Look at those springs in there with those little things that'll grab the paper for the transporter. Some other pieces off, you can see that encoder. The DC motor, belt drive. There's always a hidden screw or a hidden tab, but this piece is coming off now. There's a nice little speaker in there, held in with a couple tabs. Every piece that I pull out will have some sort of a place up in one of these boxes right here. Right there. Just keeps all this stuff organized. That way when you're building stuff and somebody says, hey, do you have a speaker? Say, yep, I've got speakers. Creative junk's only good if you can find it. This little box method works really good. It's up nice and high, but you don't lose it. You can either buy all kinds of parts or you can tear stuff apart and get it for free. I'm not saying that you never have to buy parts, but when you pull stuff apart and you can categorize it, you save a lot of money. Here's a real nice switch. Right, there's the switch. Years and years of collecting switches. Somebody will ask, do you have a switch? And I say, well, let's go take a look. Here's a nice looking hose. That's made of silicone. That's beautiful. If you've ever tried to build anything without tubing, you know how valuable this stuff is. There's times when you're looking for that screw, you can't find it, so you just kind of give it a pull and, bust a few pieces. Really going after this piece of silicone hose because this is top of the food chain. If you're looking to pump chemicals, now this is a nice precision pump for pumping chemicals. It's got its own drive motor. The chemicals come into this tube, they never touch any mechanism except for the tube. This is a beautiful piece. You might be wondering, do I have a pump box? Right there, pump. Fuel pumps, air pumps, every kind of pump. Now we're getting to the good stuff. Here's the precision motors. Precision motors like this are absolutely beautiful. Boxes of motors are so heavy I keep them on the ground. That way you just pull it out onto the ground, toss it in. When you're building something and you need a motor, well, you don't have to go and order every single motor every single time. Precision ground rods are really nice. This isn't just a piece of rebar. This is really nice. There's a piece of tube that's got some grip on it. I've got everything apart. It's just time to kind of cherry pick out some of the nice little parts. I'll pull them all off, put them in a pile, and show you what I get. A steel like this will go into a scrap steel pile and can be recycled for some money. To get all the good pieces out, it's kind of like picking at crab. You just kind of got to work at it. Once the bigger pieces have all the little parts out of them, then I put them into trays, and you can see all kinds of really cool springs. We've got drivetrain, nuts and bolts. Some of these parts are amazing. A DC motor with an encoder. We've got a heat sink, a worm gear, rack and pinions all over this thing. The power supply is very interesting. It comes with a plug-in 110 volt and then DC current. It has 12 volt and 32 volt. Precision rods and tubes are really nice for all kinds of projects. Scrap steel, we'll just recycle it. At least a couple pounds of that. We'll sort out these springs by type in the spring box. A little piece of silicone tube we'll put in the silicone area. Silicone tube is absolutely at the top of the food chain as far as tubing goes. Some nice encoders. I'll set this one in encoders as well. Nice Wi-Fi module that we'll remove from the board. We'll put this into the wireless box. When you go to buy this stuff, it's expensive. Really nice heavy-duty spring-loaded hinge. A lot of belt drives and gears. Got a few self-tapping screws. A lot of variety of sizes. Some nice machine screws, but it'll take some time to sort these. Some nice proximity sensors. When you pull these old printers apart, you just never know what you're gonna find.